Hello there, Drew Hanish of Whiskey Lore, and it's time for another whiskey tasting. And today I am going with a bottle that I had said a little while ago was a bottle that I could not do without. It's a bottle that needs to be in my cabinet. But it's a fascinating bottle because it's one that I take for granted. I see this semi plain Jane label and I think, yeah, Talisker 10. I love the idea of Talisker 10 because I've been to the distillery on the Isle of Skye, and that is one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I love that little town, Carbost, where it is. Yet, I don't know, I look at the label, I'm like, so it kind of sits there and it doesn't get a lot of tastings from me. But then whenever I taste it, I'm like, this is just such a great whiskey. So I'm going to do a tasting on this. We're going to see where it falls on my from no to okay to good to very good to excellent scale. Once and for all, I want to put this in a category of where it should be on my shelf. And by the way, if you guys enjoy these videos, go ahead and please like the video if you could, and then that's going to help more people find these video tastings and will incentivize me to keep pumping out more and more of these and getting more bottles. And if you're a Kentucky bourbon fan, you might want to check out my Experience the Kentucky Bourbon book, which is available on Amazon. It's on sale right now, so good time to get it. But man, when you're dreaming of going to places to visit, there's your chance to check out Kentucky bourbon, whichever side of the, it just one little whiff was enough for me to go, okay, I know now why this is a whiskey that I always say needs to be in my cabinet. If you are one of those people who says, I'm not really a fan of smoky whiskeys, and I want to avoid them, I'm going to ask you a question, and I ask this whenever I do any of my tastings. I will usually do tastings when I'm doing Scotch where I stick with non-peated whiskeys until the last, and then I go right for the Laphroaig 10. And what I find is that when I describe to people what Laphroaig 10 is like, they tend to enjoy it. They don't get that look on their face that you'll sometimes see in Laphroaig's promotional videos where people are like, oh, what is that? And I've seen that look before on people who have tasted smoky whiskeys for the first time and haven't been prepared for the experience. The thing about smoky whiskey is you have to throw out everything you know about whiskey. You have to not think bourbon. You have to not think sherry influenced scotches. You have to think, I am about to experience something that isn't sweet, but it's savory. And if you can get yourself in that mindset, then when you take it in, you're going to enjoy it a whole lot more because you're prepared for what it's going to be. It won't be a shock to the system. You'll go, wait, this would go great with seafood. This would go great with a steak. I'm having a steak tonight. I can tell you already from my first whiff of this that I am having my Talisker 10 along with my sirloin steak tonight because that smell is wonderful. There's a sea character to it. There's a little baking spice in there, and then there's stone fruits that come in. And you'll hear me talk about stone fruits. And this is what I try to help people with when doing tastings. Now I have my little color tasting wheel here. And I say, when you're first starting out, don't be ashamed of the fact that the best that you can come up with in terms of flavors are, it's fruity, or it's floral, or it tastes like grain, it tastes like grape nuts or something like that, or that maybe it has an oaky character, it tastes like peanuts, or it tastes like almonds, but you can't really name exactly what it is, or you feel like you're not really good at this. The thing is, when you start out, that inner circle is where you're going to be. And what you're challenged to do is, as you develop your palate, you start moving outside. So you'll see that I have a category here under fruit called stone. And under stone, I have the 4 different stone fruits that are considered as part of that category: apricot, peach, cherry, and plum. Some might say apple and pear. Those come under pome, which is another category, but are also considered stone fruits. So that's the way you kind of work your way out. And the reason I bring up stone fruits is because there are some stone fruits in here, but you have to kind of move past the sea and the sand, because that's the first thing you're really going to smell here is a nice hint of smoke, sea, and sand. And then this little apricot thing comes in the background, little apple, little tropical fruit rolls in on this whiskey. This was up against Oban 18 in bracketology, and I was pulling for this. I haven't had Oban 18, so I don't know where it's at in terms of flavor, but man, it's got to be good for me to move past this one, because I love it. And it's one of those things where, you know, people say, oh, because it's 18 years old, it's got to be better. Not necessarily. Sometimes the new make really shines in these whiskeys, and the longer it sits in that barrel, the more it kind of loses what makes it a wonderful whiskey. Yeah, there's just like a little fruit, kind of a, tart kind of a smell that comes in there that's really intriguing and makes you want to jump right in. So here we go. Yeah, that smoke blends so nicely. It's a rich, rich, rich mouthfeel and taste that comes in. The fruits are there. It's just like such a nice marriage. It just has its own personality to it. And so it's kind of hard to define a particular flavor that I'm pulling out in it. As you get to the end, all of a sudden, little pepperiness comes in, and you get this salty, savory barbecue that pulls in on the finish. And that's why I tell people, when you say you don't like smoky whiskeys, but then I see you gobbling down the beef brisket, I'm thinking you're just in the wrong mindset. If you're in the right mindset, you're going to find the appreciation for this whiskey. And then there's, for the bourbon fans, there's a little bit of that caramel, vanilla lingering on the finish, but the smoke is always there. If you're from Philly, you'll love the pretzel salt that comes in on this. It's just a really, really interesting and really enjoyable whiskey. If I say there's only one knock on this whiskey, it's that because it's made by Diageo and they sell to a world market, a 10-year-old whiskey should not be that dark unless they're aging it in a sherry cask or something that's going to impart a lot of color. This is a drastic color for that. So this definitely has colorant added to it, and it is also chill filtered. So it just makes me wonder what this would be like if they didn't do those two things, because those can impact the flavor and the mouthfeel and experience. It's got a nice mouthfeel to it, but man, it might be able to be a lot more milky than it is. So when it comes to a rating on this, on my 5-level scale, it's excellent. It's excellent. I love this whiskey, and I reaffirm that Talisker 10 will forever be in my cabinet because it is just a fantastic whiskey. It's a really good next step up. If you've had a journey into smoky whiskeys and maybe you started off by tasting something like Johnnie Walker Black that has a little bit of smoke in it, and you're ready to take the next step, but you don't want to go all the way to Islay and go for the Lefroigs and the Bruichladdich and the rest, then Talisker is the way to go because it will give you a nice, comfortable smoke. And this is very similar if you had Connemara peated Irish whiskey. Flavor profiles are actually amazingly fairly similar, but Connemara is proof down. This is proof to 45.7, something like that. Let me look. 45.8. So at 45.8, it's got more body to it. I would love to see them take Connemara and actually do a higher proof on it to see, because it's a little watery for me. Triple distilling probably hurts that one versus the double distilling on this one. But anyway, fantastic whiskey. Hope you enjoyed the review. If you've had Talisker 10, tell me if you've had the same experience in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed this, and subscribe if you want to see more, because I taste whiskeys from around the world, and I'm going through my entire collection right now. So we got lots of whiskeys to go. And until next time, cheers and Slanjava. Steaks are coming.